I spent 10 years writing my first book. Countless rewrites, countless revisions. I finished it so many times. Only one time throughout that 10-year writing process did I ever try to get my book out into the world. At 16 years old, I sent out a small round of queries. I had no idea what I was doing. I was proud of my work, and I knew that other people would love my story too. Miraculously, a literary agent came calling to represent my work, but I got scared. Was my story really good enough to be on bookshelves? I was only 16. Why would anyone think that I could possibly write a decent story? I hadn't lived, hadn't had any real experience. I was no one, worthless, a poser. More than anything, I was sure that I would fail. And so I never called him back. To this day, I still haven't published that first story. The fear of failure has plagued me since I first started writing. I'm not exactly thick-skinned. Criticism hurts. I hate putting myself out there. I am not adventurous or bold. But I've published 3 books. I have a YouTube channel where I dare to tell people what I know about being a good writer. I have a Twitch channel where I play around with writing and plotting in front of an audience. In every aspect of my life, I defy my own fear of failure. And it isn't because I'm brave or self-assured. It's because I have to. Welcome to CC Writes. My name is CC Lepke, and today we are battling our Bogarts. The fear of failure is a common enemy of a lot of writers. It keeps us revising our stories year after year, never quite satisfied with the results. It makes us question whether we deserve to be published, whether we match up to other writers, and whether anyone will care about our stories at all. It's easy to be afraid, which is why we give in so readily. It's always easier to do the wrong thing. Human nature is like water in a lot of ways. We constantly move along the path of least resistance and carve away at it until it seems like we have no other way to go. But when it comes to the fear of failure, there is another way. And today, we're going to explore that new path together. I'm no psychologist, but I've lived my entire life with pretty bad anxiety. I have coping skills out the wazoo just so I can get out of bed every morning. Despite all of my previous videos talking about using writing as a coping skill among other topics, I'm as prone to anxiety as everyone else. Fear has been a constant refrain of my life, and it has plagued my work ever since I first started writing. I know the common pieces of advice that people without crippling anxiety like to tout as the best way to overcome your fears. Fake it till you make it. Believe in yourself, and the universe will believe in you too. Stop being anxious and just be happy instead. Well, that's a load of crap. A big ol' stinky pile of horse crap, and they're trying to shove that crap straight down your throat. My advice? Don't eat it. It'll only make you sick. People with intense anxiety have a hard time faking it. We don't need the universe to believe in us. We need to find a way to live past the fear. And I'm sorry, but do you genuinely think that if I had a just be happy button, I wouldn't be using it all the freaking time? What kind of advice is that? Who raised you? Without real, tangible steps to change your outlook and a good dose of coping skills, fear of failure will always have you by the throat. If you've been locked down by fear, or you're just looking for a way to relieve some of your anxiety about making the jump to full-time writer, then this is the video for you. To set aside the fear of failure, you need perspective, coping skills, and routine. Each of these things is more difficult to obtain than they sound, but I'm going to walk you through it as best I can. Perspective is just another way of saying that you need to keep your eyes on the big picture and define exactly what it is you're looking to obtain from your writing life. To gain perspective, I use SMART goals and cold, hard facts so I know exactly what it is I'm getting myself into as a writer. When it comes to facts that help you gain perspective, there is one piece of advice that helps me out immensely. In order to succeed in any business venture, you really only need 1,000 true fans. These people are the die-hard supporters who love your work and will always buy your product no matter what. With 1,000 true fans, you can support your entire lifestyle. And here's the thing that really helps me sleep at night. There are over 1.3 billion people in the world who speak English. You only need 1,000 of those people to like you. The odds are deeply in your favor. How's that for some perspective? Another big picture fact to keep in mind is that there is no such thing as a perfect story. Oh, but such and such is a perfect story and I want to be just like, no. Get that out of your head from the start. You don't need to be the best. You don't need to be perfect. You need to write the story that you are capable of writing and then set yourself out on the path to get it published. That's it. That's all you need. To do that, you should set some goals. SMART goals are guidelines you can use to help plan and achieve your goals. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. When you set goals for yourself, make sure those goals are each of these things so that you have a well-defined idea of what you want to achieve and how to make it happen. For instance, my goal is to make enough money to live comfortably and save for the future. I know, reach for the stars, right? Well, being rich and famous isn't likely for most of us, and I'm happy enough just making a decent living. So my SMART goals would look like this. By December 2025, I will make $45,000 per year with my writing business. I will reach 600 book sales per month by December 2025. I will reach 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours on YouTube by December 2022. I will have an average of 5 views per stream on Twitch by December 2021. You'll notice that for this goal, I set a specific date for when I need to achieve it, December 2025. That's what makes the goal timely. It's a realistic deadline to achieve what I want to do. I made the goal measurable by defining how much I'd like my yearly salary to be, $45,000. You should always set a reasonable goal based on what you think is realistic. Making the measurement and deadline realistic is how you assure that it is an attainable goal. For it to be relevant, it has to be a goal that relates to the big picture of what you want to achieve. Your goal is specific, there's a definitive way you can make it happen. Working toward world peace is not a specific goal, but working to decrease the world's reliance on highly disputed fossil fuels through an increased reliance on renewable energy resources is specific. And a mouthful, my goodness. You'll notice the 3 objectives I placed on my SMART goal include how I'm going to achieve my salary target. And each of those objectives are also measurable, attainable, relevant to the SMART goal, and timely. I could break them down even further to show how I'm going to achieve those objectives. For instance, I could get 600 book sales per month by creating in-video ads for my YouTube channel, developing high-value sales funnels, and making use of Amazon ads. We could define it even further than that, but I won't. Ain't nobody got time for that. Basically, what I'm doing with my goal setting is breaking down my dream into smaller and smaller steps until those steps are small enough for me to take one at a time to get where I'm going. Doing it this way transforms your goals into a plan of action. With a plan of action, your big, lofty dream of being a published full-time author looks a lot more attainable. And when it looks more attainable, there's less fear that you won't be able to make it happen. And for any lingering bits of anxiety, we use coping skills. Coping skills are tools you can use to deal with stressful situations. They should be used on a regular basis, even when you're not feeling stressed. That way, they come as a natural reflex when fear rears its ugly head. It's like martial arts for your brain. You have to practice relentlessly so that you can kick your opponent's butt when you're in a real fight. There are plenty of coping skills that you can use to deal with fear. Expressive writing therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy games, meditating, exercising, praying, communing with nature. Test out a few of them. Mix and match to figure out what works best for you. As a matter of fact, I actually use all of those coping skills I just mentioned. Before I sat down to write the script for this video, I spent 20 minutes doing a simple cardio workout. Kind of. Alright, I played video games, but it was on the Oculus, so it counts. If you get a chance, you should talk with a therapist about the different coping skills you could use to manage anxiety. It's totally worth it and really helps keep the fear of failure in check. I personally try to practice my coping skills every day, so I work it all into my regular routine to stay consistent. And speaking of routine is the most difficult thing to achieve. I struggle with this on a regular basis, but if you can get your writing practice down to a habit, then you will be so much closer to your goal of defeating the fear of failure. Let me tell you a little bit about my routine so you can see how this works. I wake up around 10 in the morning. The first thing I do is practice my coping skills. I go outside to eat breakfast when the weather is nice, and while I eat, I pray a little bit. Sometimes I'll read too. After breakfast, I do about 20 minutes of exercise, usually cardio or yoga. By 11, I'm ready to work. I'll spend the rest of the morning writing scripts for YouTube. Have lunch, read and pray a little more. At 1:30, I'll record a video. If I get done early, I work on editing the video a bit. Then at 3 p.m., I do some fiction writing. Sometimes I'll live stream my writing and planning sessions. I finish up my writing sprints by about 5 p.m., then I spend an hour reading or playing video games before I start making dinner. The rest of the evening is spent hanging out with my husband. I do my best to stick to this daily routine 5 days a week. It's not much, but it's the most I can handle. Figure out your own best schedule, even if it means only writing for an hour a day or half an hour a day. It's the best way to keep from getting psyched out about writing a story. If you keep a daily routine of writing and make it habitual, you're less likely to get all up in your own head about it. My routine also extends beyond daily tasks. With the schedule I give myself, I can have a story written in about 6 weeks. After that, I give myself another 6 weeks to edit that story about 3 times. After that 6 weeks is up, I have to send my story to alpha readers or an editor. I give them about 6 weeks to read it, then I have 1 month to make revisions. If I'm still not satisfied, I'll send it to beta readers for another 6 weeks and give myself 1 more month to make the final edits. Once that time is up, I'm not allowed to touch the story again. Part of my routine includes giving myself hard deadlines for my work, so I'm not forever working on one story. I can have a full book written and completely edited in about 6 months by giving myself these hard deadlines. The fear of failure will keep you editing forever because artists are never truly finished with their work. You have to push past that instinct and give yourself a definitive end for each task, or else you'll never be ready to move forward. The biggest secret to overcoming the fear of failure is learning how to be okay when things aren't perfect. Think about it this way. Star Trek, one of the most well-loved TV series of all time, had sets that were decorated with the plastic drink lids from fast food restaurants. The Daleks from Doctor Who had a whisk and a plunger to represent their weapon systems. The things you create don't have to be perfect. They just have to be good enough for television. Setting a regular work routine with hard deadlines will make it so that you have to finish your work and move forward to the next part of your action plan. The fear of failure is always going to be waiting at the edges of your life, telling you that if you hit that publish button, then you're going to fail. But it's also possible to fail because you didn't try. If it's possible to fail either way, I'd much rather fail after I tried something amazing. How about you? If you enjoyed my take on how to beat the fear of failure and want to see more from me about living the writer's life, check out the video on top where I show you how to procrastinate better. Otherwise, click on the bottom video to see what YouTube recommends. As always, thank you so much for joining me today on CC Writes. I hope you enjoyed our time together, and I will see you later.